What's up, y'all? Talon here, and today I have another series of ranked battles featuring high-level rental teams. This time I'm featuring Zeen, Shohei Kimura, the 2023 Masters Division World Champions winning team. It was a really incredible finish at the World Championships this weekend. He was really dominant throughout day two, as well as the top cut, ultimately winning in the finals over Michael Derbest, the singles prodigy who converted it over to VGC in an incredible weekend for him as well. But I actually have his team featured on the channel. I featured it a couple weeks before the World Championship, so I'll have that linked in the description below. To speak on the team, I'm pretty impressed that Zeen was able to pilot this to first place, not because it's a bad team, but going into the tournament it seemed like more priority, Dragonite chien-pao stuff, Trick Room, Tailwind were going to be the dominant archetypes, Rain as well. But this is really as close to a just pure balance, fundamentals, good stuff team that you can get. There's no speed control here. There's a couple of priority moves, nothing too overwhelming. For the most part, the team is just the best Pokemon in the metagame. Really good stats, really good coverage, just being played to the highest degree to overwhelm your opponents. I think a team like this is a little more difficult to use for newer players just because it really challenges your positional read making. I think positional teams like that are a lot harder to use than more aggressive read-based teams just because the turns earlier in the match feel like they cascade in big ways later on in the match. So whether you went for a Volt Switch or a Fake Out earlier in the match with your Iron Hands and preserve that HP or not can end up deciding whether you win the match or lose. So it's a difficult team to play, but definitely has all the components to do well in a best of 3 and best of 1 environment. I believe this team was actually number 1 on the ranked battle ladders in July, or very close to it. I believe it was maybe with a booster energy on Fluttermane, just because that's a little easier to pilot in best of 1, but nonetheless, just compositionally extremely sound, and I'm excited to go into the details now. So going into the Pokemon, the Fluttermane is a really cool Choice Specs Energy Ball Terra Grass set. So a lot of Urshifus this metagame are trying to beat opposing Fluttermane, whether it be through Choice Scarf or just defensively terroring to a water type so that you're no longer weak to fairy moves. So this set actually completely destroys both those options. So they have to go, if they go for Surging Strikes into your Terra Grass, they're not doing much damage. They're no longer getting that knockout. And if they try and go for a Terra Water defensively, you just knock them out with Energy Ball anyways. So it's a really cool set. To go into some notes on the Fluttermane's EV spread, it's pretty defensive and timid, so focusing on outspeeding opposing chien-pao who are running Adamant Nature, which has been picking up in usage, and just other Fluttermane in general, as well as running a fair amount of bulk. You want to be able to live the Jolly Ice Crash and bring it down to Focus Sash with Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast so that the rest of your team can clean that up. Next we have Assault Vest Iron Hands, which is just really good, so bulky, really strong against Tailwind teams in particular, as well as with the Terra Water against Urshifu, being able to resist the Surging Strike. It's a pretty standard set outside of Volt Switch. We've seen a bit more Heavy Slam to counter opposing Fluttermane this meta, but Zeen going for the Volt Switch in this case just to prioritize pivoting. Next we have the Landorus, which is a Choice Scarf set. So the moveset's pretty standard. It's Terra Flying, Terra Blast. The EV spread is the thing I was most unsure of when making this team because there's really two schools of thought I was, trying to come at it from. So you can either go Adamant Max Attack, which gives you the maximum chance to knock out even a really bulky, bold Amoonguss. You're able to knock that out a lot of the time if you go Max Attack, but if you go Jolly, you're missing that knockout a lot of the time. The trade-off there is if you go Jolly Landorus, you'll be able to outspeed Jolly Choice Scarf Urshifu, which I think is probably better in a best of 1 environment, just not having the insurance of knowing that you'll pretty much always be outspeeding an opposing Urshifu unless they're Jolly Choice Scarf, which is by far a less common nature than Jolly is. So I ended up going Adamant just because I think you can never have too much Amoonguss hate on this team. This team definitely has plenty, so I could have made the wrong decision on what Zeen actually went for here. If at some point Zeen does release the Pokepaste, I'll update that in the description along with a new rental code, just because I want to be as close to the original team as possible, but at the time of the recording that's not available, so I used my best judgment and went with Adamant. Next we have chien-pao, which is an Adamant set with Terra Grass, so really just hating on Amoonguss. Those that you're not knocking out with Adamant Icicle Crash, you can just Terra Grass and completely ignore them. You are still taking a lot of damage from Pollen Puff, but being able to ignore them, go for a Sucker Punch, Icicle Crash into the partner is definitely very valuable. Amoonguss is running Citrus Berry over the Rocky Helmet, otherwise it's pretty standard. No Leaf Storm or Clear Smog. We're going for Protect on that last slot just to be able to pivot. And I think that's pretty smart on this team. Otherwise, you don't have a lot of Protects. Trick Room could be a bit of an issue, so having the option to stall either Tailwind or Trick Room turns with Protect on the Amoonguss is very nice. So the Urshifu is a bulky Mystic Water set with Terra Water, altogether pretty standard outside of the Taunt move slot. Taunt's very nice here. I feel like you typically don't hit close combat that often with Urshifu, and Taunt just gives you a lot of utility against Tailwind, especially against Amoonguss, set up Pokemon like Goodra, so I think that's a really cool facet of the team, just the ability for the Urshifu to function a support role when you're in front of something like Amoonguss instead of just being forced to Surging Strike into a Rocky Helmet or something like that. Overall, this is an incredible team piloted by an incredible player. There were several Japanese players in the top cut with similar teams. I'm not sure if they're exactly the same to the EV, but very close open team sheets. So yeah, I think this is one of the strongest teams coming out of Worlds, and it's going to be really relevant at the few Regulation D regionals we will have in this format. I think this is going to be probably the top team to target. It's just so fundamentally strong, though, that yeah, it's going to be really difficult for people to beat. I'll be moving into the rank battle section just to show you how you might want to play the team, but there's tons of footage of Zeen and other Japanese players piloting the team at Worlds, so I definitely recommend checking those replays out if you're interested in learning to play the team yourself. With all that being said, let's get into it. Starting out at 414 on the ladder today, we have some fireworks going in the background. I think that might have to do with the World Championship. A little distracting, but we'll try and get through team preview nonetheless. So we have chien-pao, Urshifu, Chi-Yu, Fluttermane, Tornadus, and Amoonguss. And usually you assume it's Water Urshifu anyways, but with the Chi-Yu on the team and the chien-pao, I really doubt it's also a Dark type, cascading even further on that. So this team has a pretty intricate Tailwind matchup, one that I am not actually sure how to use. So I think Iron Hands is generally just a good guy to stick in front of them. I saw Urshifu being led as well. The Sucker Punch pressure could be nice on chien-pao. I don't think Amoonguss gets me very far. I think I'll go chien-pao, and the Protect on Amoonguss could be nice. I'm not quite sure. But right now I am kind of lacking in pressure against I think I'll go Amoonguss because I feel like Landorus just gets caught in Tailwind a lot of the time against a lot of the opponent's Pokemon. If they don't bring Tailwind, then Landorus was a very, very positive bring. And I could have stalled out Tailwind potentially with Iron Hands and Friends, but ended up going with the Amoonguss. I think the Protect and Tailwind could be pretty valuable for us here. But this team obviously doesn't have any speed control of its own, just the Landorus and a bit of priority, so these battles can be a little bit difficult to manage, but we'll do our best here. For free. That's crazy. Anyways, yeah, let's get started. We have the Torn Chi-Yu, so very glad that I didn't lead. Okay. So I think I led pretty well into this. I can fake out Chi-Yu pretty safely, assuming they're not Focus Sash or Covert Cloak. And then, what am I going to need Terra for anything this battle? Potentially. The water could be nice, but could Volt Switch too. I guess the question is, what is there? I think I'm going to go for Wild Charge and Protect here. I think the original team is actually Detect, but I don't want to bite into a Covert Cloak, and I could have fake outed the Chi-Yu. They didn't go for the Ghost Terra this turn. And I considered going for a Water Terra on my Iron Hands in the face of a potential Heat Wave. Yeah, and I would have taken half damage this turn, but yeah, definitely left a lot of food on the table with this one. So that is definitely Specs, and we do get the Wild Charge off. I'm kind of hoping this doesn't knock out. Yeah, because we would have been able to Aqua Jet Drain Punch next turn, and now we've taken so much damage on Iron Hands that... Let's see, they did maybe 100 damage last turn, I think. Maybe a little less. So I think we'll actually live another Heat Wave if they're not Terra Fire or something like that. They ran their Urshifu. So I think Water Terra on a... Ooh, that is actually the fighting one. That is pretty surprising. fair enough. Heat Wave's going to do a lot, but probably won't lead to a knockout. So I could Aqua Jet that. I wonder if we knock out. It's probably pretty close to a knockout. I don't really want to risk going for Terra, so... So I didn't take any risks here, I don't think. Yeah, we live on Iron Hands, so we'll at least get one attack off this turn. They go for close combat into my Urshifu, taking a knockout, so I could have gone for Aqua Jet, but I didn't want them to basically double into my Iron Hands. Yeah, and we knock out the Urshifu, so getting a ton of HP back from that. Urshifu has a base 100 HP stat, so it's such an offensive juggernaut, but it has impressive bulk, and the secondary effect of that is we're getting a lot of HP back. So we're pretty sure they're choice specs, and we've burned 2 turns of Tailwind. So at this point, they're more than likely gonna have the Flutter in the back, would be my guess. Or a Adamant chien-pao, I think. I believe. Yeah. So chien-pao or Amoonguss. I think I like Amoonguss here. I think we could surprise them. It's chien-pao. Okay, yeah. We'll definitely surprise them here with the Terra Water on Amoonguss, and then with Sacred Sword on chien-pao, I think we should be good to clean up. Although, I don't know how necessary that is. I think that could introduce a flinch chance that could lose us the game. So what I might do is actually go for Terra Water Drain Punch into Chi-Yu and just Rage Powder. Yeah, I think I will do that. Because unless they're Ghost... this does introduce a potential loss to Ghost Terra on Chi-Yu, honestly. So with that in mind, I think I will go for Terra Water on Amoonguss. If I knew they're Terra, like if I knew they weren't Terra Ghost on Chi-Yu, I would most definitely Terra my Iron Hands, live the Heat Wave, Drain Punch, and probably get near full. And then just Rage Powder away a Icicle Crash from the chien-pao. Yeah, this is potentially risking a crit here, but without Terras, I think we made a pretty solid coverage play, and that's kind of just what you have to do on ladder sometimes. There is the Ice Spinner. We aren't Rocky Helmet, unfortunately, so they go unpunished for that. We are Citrus Berry. They Heat Wave, which again, the AV Iron Hands just clutching up and living, and there's the Citrus Berry proccing, so... Ooh. Okay, and we see a DC from them. Definitely we're not too happy about the Water Terra and just Iron Hands sitting on the field. And yeah, 1-hit KO on Chi-Yu, and... yeah, not looking good for their chien-pao, so we managed to handle the Tailwind pretty well. Just sitting your bulky Pokemon, stalling out the offensive turns. We didn't even end up needing our back Pokemon, but Amoonguss, I think, was definitely the call over Landorus in that situation. Just the option to protect the Water Terra as an alternative if I lost too much HP on Iron Hands to where it became a risk to Terra that, which ended up being the case, was definitely very nice for us. So a bit of salt on their hand, I'd guess, unless it was a legitimate DC, but the timing of it, a little bit suspicious. But we have a mirror match here completely. This was played on stream, but I didn't pay too close of attention, so not sure how this is going to go. But I think Landorus is definitely a very good tool in this matchup. I think Terra Grass Amoonguss ended up being, or Terra Grass Fluttermane ended up being quite strong on stream, so I might go for that at some point. Iron Hands, of course, with Terra Water, good against everything but their Iron Hands. I think I'll probably dedicate my Terra to this. I like Amoonguss as a lead. I think they're relatively likely to lead Urshifu because of Taunt. I'm going to bring Amoonguss for sure, and I guess the question now is, what do I bring as my last? I think Iron Hands could be pretty strong. Urshifu, good as well. I think I'll go Iron Hands. Urshifu might have been correct, but given that I really expect to be terroring my Fluttermane, I don't think I need the taunt too much on the opposing Amoonguss. I'm kind of just going to be trying to set up my Amoonguss to be an issue for them to deal with, and then I think Iron Hand's Fake Out lets me do that a little more effectively than Urshifu's offensive presence. So, we see Ursh plus Lando here. We're threatening, we have Intimidate on them, which I think is quite good. They can go for a Terra of their own. But unfortunately, they are threatening a... So they could easily protect Urshifu, unfortunately. They can go for a Terra on their Landorus, but I don't think that's too big of an issue. I didn't track them too well this turn. And what I mean by that is I didn't track the Intimidates. I don't know which between the two of us are faster. I think they're probably a little worried about the Urshifu. So what I'm going to do is switch Fluttermane out. I think it's too important to just risk it turn 1. I would live a hit from the Lando unless they maybe go for an Aqua Jet Terra double up. But my Amoonguss should be able to live any attack if their Landorus goes for Terra Flying into that slot, which is reasonably likely. I will live it and heal back with Citrus Berry. But very nice that we're revealing their Terra turn 1. That'll make their subsequent turns, even though we're taking probably some big damage this turn. Yeah, so they did double, so definitely covered that right. They go for Terra Blast, revealing that if they're not... Oop. Okay. We should live that. Yep. Even... I'm running a near max defense Amoonguss, so I have a chance to live that even from full HP. And based on that damage, I might live another one. We get the U-turn off, and now we go into our Fluttermane, and I think we have a pretty safe... I wonder if I go for Rage Powder or not. I think they did what? Aqua Jet did about 20. Yeah, I don't think I'll live another hit. So I could just switch out, honestly. I think my Amoonguss could be pretty valuable. My HP on the Landorus could also be pretty valuable. I'm tempted to hit Protect this turn. I think I'll Rage Powder. I don't think I made the correct play here. Because they're more than likely just going to protect their Urshifu. Yeah, so I think what I should have done is maybe Spore the Landorus or protect my Amoonguss. I should be getting my Lando back in another turn, and I think we're in decent shape overall. Oh, we do live. Yeah, I thought it was going to be close. That doesn't really end up being too consequential, I don't think. Okay, we 2-hit KO, so now I think we have a pretty safe pivot into my Landorus to intimidate them again. Unless they crit either of these, we should be able to hold on to both of our Pokemon here and get a Dazzling Gleam off. So really fortunate live, kind of. I think getting Intimidate in would have been nice there without having to switch it in, but I'll never shake my fist at a Regenerator Amoonguss in the back. Yeah, there is the Aqua Jet. Ooh, that did a lot. Is that a crit? Wow, that did a lot. I'm pretty defensive on my... Oh my goodness, yeah. I'm super... Oh, you know what just happened? I think I intimidated their Landorus such that their attack stat was lower than their special attack stat, so Terra Blast converted to a special attack, and that's why it did so little to Flutter Mane. That's so funny. Yeah, definitely caught them unaware there. And I think we would have lived anyway. We're a Flutter Mane, we had 100 HP left, and we should be EV'd to live hits from opposing chien-pao and things like that. Okay, so there's their Flutter Mane. I think Iron Hands at this point is looking very solid for us, so we're just going to try and clean this endgame up any way we can. They have to lock into an attack here. They're probably Sucker Punch on chien-pao into my Flutter Mane. So I think I'm down to just U-turn the Flutter, get a bit of chip, basically chip it into Terra Blast range potentially, and then go for Dazzling Gleam. They've already revealed their Choice Scarf, so they shouldn't have anything to outspeed. Yeah, Lando goes first, gets a bit of chip onto Flutter, no Protect on chien-pao, so I could have chipped that down, but right now I'm really just driving towards a pretty semi-clean endgame, I'm thinking. Because they've already burned their Terra, so I should just be able to fake out... Oh, they are not a Jolly. Yeah, I outspeed both of their Pokemon, I get the Dazzling Gleam, but now Dazzling Gleam off, and now the game is super over. So they go for Icicle Crash into my Amoonguss. Clean knockout, of course. And yeah, there's the Gleam. They take a double knockout, and now we're even in Pokemon, but with my Scarf Landorus, fake out pressure on the board, I'm just really not expecting them to be able to win, and I don't even think I'll need to use my Terra. I do think even if their attack stat had just fell so that their Terra Blast had done more, or it had hit on the physical side, I would have lived. I had 100 HP left, and I'm EV'd to live. I believe Jolly Icicle Crash, or maybe Adamant, I'm not quite sure. But given that it was a -2 Landorus Terra Blast, it is double damage because of the Terra 2x boost on the flying type Terra Blast, just because it is naturally stab. I still think I would have lived though. And yeah, now with no fake out, or with no ability for them to Terra, I think this is pretty clean. On the off chance they can live a Stomping Tantrum, which I don't think is really likely because I'm a max attack Landorus T. I'm just going to go for that, but they're outspeeding my Landorus relatively consistently, which might suggest they're Jolly. I have this Landorus EV'd Adamant max attack so that I have the maximum chance to knock out opposing Amoonguss with Terra Blast, because even though this team has a lot of techs to be able to handle that, I think, or handle the Amoonguss, lots of Terra Grasses, there's Taunt on Urshifu, I don't think you can ever have enough Amoonguss respect on your team, so instead of trying to tech out for basically going Jolly to outspeed Scarf Urshifus, I went with a Adamant nature to target Amoonguss a bit more. I think this team, with Terra Water on the Iron Hands, with Terra Grass on chien-pao, with Terra Grass on Flutter Mane, Amoonguss, I think this team has Urshifu covered. It has both covered, to be honest, but in this case, I just I'm always scared of Amoonguss. But maybe for a ladder setting, I think it was probably better to be Jolly, just so that you're never getting caught off guard. You're never making a play assuming it's going to be an Adamant Choice Scarf Urshifu, and then or making a play assuming it's Mystic Water and then getting surprised by a Choice Scarf set. If you're just running Jolly, hedging your bets, that's probably pretty good for ladder, but yeah, definitely one change I might recommend is going a bit of a different Landorus EV spread. Wow, so against 58 on ladder, they have Tornadus, Urshifu, chien-pao, Flutter Mane, Volcarona, and Rillaboom. So I think this team's a little... It's not weak to Tailwind, but I don't think it's its strongest matchup. Pardon me, tripping through my words there. But I think the Iron Hands mode was good last game. I am a little worried about Will-O-Wisp on Volcarona, though. Okay. Flutter Mane could be cool as a lead in some respects. Yeah, I think Flutter is actually pretty good as a lead, honestly. If I knew their Urshifu item, I'd be a little more confident in that. It's usually not good against Tailwind, honestly. I think what I'll go here is I'll take advantage of Focus Sash on Chien-Pao. That way they have to double target it or use spread attacks to knock it out and lead Iron Hands. Just lots of bulk there. Don't think I can really go wrong. Volcarona is a little concerning because I don't have close combat on this set. I think Rillaboom's a bit of a concern. I think Fluttermane's pretty cool, and I'll go Amoonguss in the back. They have a pretty interesting team. I'm interested to see what they have for us here. It could be Quiver Dance Volcarona, could be a Rage Powder Will-O-Wisp Overheat set, kind of an old school set, maybe Struggle Bug. Or they might just not bring it at all. They might rely on their consistent options, but they're pretty high on the ladder. This, I believe, was one of the top teams in the July ranked battle rankings. So I think they probably have the experience advantage here, but hey, maybe we played the team in a way they don't expect. But let's brace ourselves for a tough one. 52, nothing to laugh about. Okay, it's Urshifu and Rillaboom, so very, very happy I led with the Chien-Pao. I think they have a pretty good pin onto my Chien-Pao though, because if I protect, they target through it. That's not quite true, because I can fake out. Okay. I kind of like switching out my Chien-Pao though. I think I could get a lot of damage off this turn. Fake out switch could be interesting. I think I want to start chipping away at the Rillaboom and switch in my Amoonguss on this slot. Unless there's Safety Goggles or Terra Grass, I think this should, in most cases, give me a good position the next turn. It also covers for their Rillaboom maybe Terroring this turn into a Terra Fire to resist the Icicle Crash or something like that. But no, they're going for a Terra of some kind, and it is the Urshifu, so maybe Terra Water? Yeah. So a Wild Charge could have been good there. Maybe they're just going for a knockout straight away on Chien-Pao though, but yeah, there's Fake Out on that slot, fair enough. And they're Surging Strikes, and I think that's into Iron Hands. Oh no, it is Amoonguss. So that's what, 24 damage? So that does suggest to me that it's Mystic Water. And I should be able to tank some hits from it. And we're going to heal a bit. Fake Out's doing kind of negligible damage, and they could be Taunt Rillaboom. That would be annoying, honestly. So they could switch in Rillaboom to Chien-Pao or something, maybe Volcarona. I think I'll go for Drain Punch here and Spore. They could be Taunt Rillaboom, which in that case, well done, but it's not so likely. It's definitely a good set, but it's not the most common. I know a lot of really strong players were on Taunt Rillaboom just to be able to handle, not to be a sitting, kind of just a rock on the field when Amoonguss is here. And if they have that, definitely very good. I'm Drain Punching that slot just because trying to get Chien-Pao in could be an option for them. Okay, they switch out their Ursh into something. So if they don't Taunt, I'll get a Spore if they don't have Safety Goggles. It is Chien-Pao. Maybe going for a really strong Wood Hammer. Drum Beating, okay. Totally fine by that. Ooh, that does a lot more than I expected, actually. So speed drops, no biggie. But yeah, they boost our attack a lot, and we're able to heal a bunch back this turn. So I think we now have a pretty... Well, let's not... Yeah, maybe they're Lum, maybe they're Safety Goggles on Chien-Pao. Nope, not the case. The Chien-Pao is going to stay asleep, and that gives us an easy Drain Punch into it next turn. Drain Punch Pollen Puff seems super safe. I could go after the Rillaboom and just try and knock that out straight up. Flutter in the back. I wouldn't mind knocking out Rillaboom, though. Just defensively, it could be nice. think Amoonguss is just so good into their Pokemon here. I just want to preserve it best I can. So what I'm gonna do is Drain Punch Pollen Puff. That could be Volcarona. No, Fluttermane. Okay, fair enough. I should be getting a Spore off next turn, and we saw this didn't 2-hit KO last turn, so we get a Pollen Puff off. Unfortunately, we're not Heavy Slam, so we don't threaten a knockout, but we do threaten a Spore in that slot. So yeah, we're slowly healing up the little damage we did take on Amoonguss and kind of same Z's on Iron Hand. So now we have a very nice Spore into the Fluttermane slot, unless they're like Misty Terrain or Taunt. But I think they're more than likely Choice Specs. They could just knock me out here. I think that's a worthwhile trade. Genuinely. Oh no, because of Rage Powder, they can't. They can't really do that. So the question is, do I want to value Sleep on Fluttermane more highly, or damage into Rillaboom, or damage into Iron Hands? It doesn't matter if they go for Dazzling Gleam. They switch out though, so definitely Rage Powder would have been useless this turn, and we might just put asleep their Urshifu if they're not Safety Goggles, which I ran. Okay, cool U-turn, very cool U-turn, but at this point I'm kind of just putting everything to sleep, right? Maybe I don't know my calc on the Urshifu and its Safety Goggles, and I kind of look silly this turn, but at that point I just Terra Water my Urshifu, or my Iron Hands. Okay, cool, Drain Punch into that. So they were probably predicting like Heavy Slam into Urshifu, just trying to pivot around, but because we're Volt Switch, we never, we don't bite into that. They're basically got best of one a little bit there, and yeah, we're just have a pretty insurmountable defensive wall against them right now. Chien-pao isn't taking a sleep turn, so I have a pretty safe like Pollen Puff into that. I could Wild Charge the Urshifu. Wait, did I? Yeah, I put it to sleep. Cool. So yeah, I think this is always going to be Wild Charge into Urshifu, just chip that down, and then Pollen Puff the... I haven't put Fluttermane asleep yet, have I? I am not. Okay. Like, it doesn't really matter. They can switch out and... Okay. 4-4 cancellation. Yeah, all their Pokemon were asleep. They didn't really have any options to handle my Iron Hands. And yeah, we just dominated number 52 on ladder. So yeah, just kind of proving how defensively and offensively sound this team is. I think Tailwind is kind of a trickier matchup, but in both of the games we were able to play, we were able to just position our defensive wall, Iron Hands on the field, and heal up or deal just crazy damage consistently. And they had stuff they could do, but as long as we were covering the slots correctly, they weren't able to get it done. So pretty happy with how that battle went. Very, very good showcase of the team, and yeah. Okay, so for the last battle of the day, we have Landorus, Urshifu, Tornadus, Goldengo, Indeedee, and Regidrago. I'm not sure if I used this team. I used something pretty close to it, but the spread damage offered by this team, no joke, and with no Ice Spinner on chien-pao, it's a little annoying, the Indeedee potentially. But I think Iron Hands is quite strong, and just the Assault Vest is very good. The Landorus could prove pesky though. Definitely have to be conservative with that. I think chien-pao's Focus Sash is going to be strong this battle. I just have to decide early game or late game. But yeah, Tailwind once again. I'm going to go Iron Hands, chien-pao, I think. And for the back Pokemon, we're not super fast on our Urshifu, so Goldengo could outspeed us, as could the Regidrago. Given that we don't have close combat, the Regidrago could be an additional, like, that could be really annoying. I don't hate Fluttermane on some level. It's pretty good. And I think I want to go defensive in my last. I'm going to go Amoonguss here, just so that I can Rage Powder away any damage. Fluttermane might be my undoing though, because if they get into a position where they have Goldengo and Regidrago and Tailwind, I don't really have a switch in. I have fairy switch in. Yeah. So that's kind of the magic of this opposing team is Dragon Energy plus Choice Specs Make It Rain is just really hard to switch in on. So we're going to do our best to just try to not let it get to that. But I think Amoongus's Pollen Puff to get our Iron Hands into a solid position could be valuable. So it's Torn Gold on lead. Totally fine with that. So they could be Trick Goldango, which would be annoying for sure. Sucker Punch could be nice into their gold as well. Maybe get a surprise knockout. That might be what I go for here, honestly. Is that what I want to go for? The danger behind that is, of course, they switch in Indeedee. So, how do I counter that? I don't think they have Indeedee in the back, though. But I'll cover for it. I'm going to Wild Charge. Oops, lost Joy-Con connection there. I'm going to Sucker Punch Wild Charge. Ooh. Okay, so definitely should have Icicle Crash this turn. Sucker Punch is for sure. Ho ho ho. Excellent, excellent play. Yeah, totally caught me. Totally caught me slipping there. Excellent play. Okay, they protect, so not really much I could have done. I was going to Wild Charge that slot most likely anyways. Okay. So that's annoying, but what are we going to do? I wish I knew their Terra here. I think I'm going to protect chien-pao. I think is really valuable here, and I'll go for Wild Charge into Torn. I think that could be a winning play. Not winning on the spot, but... Okay, they switch out their Torn, so... Indeedee. Okay, so mitigating Sucker Punch for later in the game. That's quite annoying, given I don't have Ice Spinner. But we're going to minimize our damage taken on the... They should... Oh, they don't Terra. Wow. Okay, so maybe their Choice Scarf U-turn? Otherwise, I can't really explain that super well. But if they U-turn into my chien-pao, which is reasonably likely, then that's really good for us. But no Terra. Kind of a wonky battle so far, but we might have finally gotten a turn. Okay, so they stomp into my chien-pao. They don't have Tailwind up, relevant. Okay, Wild Charge doesn't 2 at KO, unfortunately. Rocky Helmet, fair enough. And Recoil, okay. That's super annoying. I think I'm gonna Icicle Crash that and Volt Switch. I don't like how much HP I've taken. And if they follow me, then I kind of expect to... I feel like they have a pretty safe switch to Goldango, honestly. So I think I'll actually go for Volt Switch. Icicle Crash, which I think should knock out. Helping Hand, goodness, okay. So they left their Lando open once again. They stomped my chien-pao, which is... I don't really understand the Helping Hand. That's unfortunate. Things are getting pretty bad. Okay. So if we hit that, I think we knock them out. So that's pretty sad. But we do have our Amoongus in the back, which is good. So I think we now have a pretty safe Protect Spore. Let's mind our turns here. So a couple more turns of Psychic Terrain. I think I'm going to Icicle Crash Rage Powder because a switch feels obvious here from them on the Landorus side. Just because otherwise, like I'm threatening an Ice move into that, I'm threatening Spore. So I think But if they switch in the Goldango, good play. Yep, we see a switch. So we have to keep in mind they still have Intimidate in the back. They do not care about taking Ice-type damage. I don't think that would have knocked out though, but we'll see if the Rage Powder or the Icicle Crash gets them. It's going to be close. Okay, we hit and we don't knock out. Okay, we do flinch though. So we have Terrad. So definitely room to worry about that. I feel like Crash Spore is my best play, honestly. The hit Bleak Wind where we could be in some trouble. I think I crashed the Indeedee, trying to cover Lando potentially, and then Spore that too. Spore the Torn. Yeah, they follow me. And maybe it was better we didn't knock out Amoonguss. They go for Tailwind, okay. That's interesting. We hit the Crash and we're going to get the Spore off. So they've played this game quite interestingly. Like the first turn was phenomenal, no doubt, but after that it's been a little... Like the Stomping Tantrum Helping Hand was weird. They just would have let me knock out with Icicle Crash too. Torn goes to sleep when I really think Bleak Wind Storm was a better play in that situation. Now they get Goldie in, which is fine. Lando, sure. Have they Terra'd yet? They have not Terra'd, I don't think. I kind of want to preserve Chien-pao. I think it's really good now that there's no Indeedee risk. And we're really near max defense, so if they go for Flying Terra Blast on me, I have a chance to live even if they're adamant max attack. They need a boosting item to guarantee it. So I feel pretty safe about Iron Hands coming in. If I get the Spore off, I can start going for Pollen Puffs. There is the Terra, so unless we're Terra Grass or we get crit, we should get the Spore off. Terra Water, very nice. So they never did it. I think they should have gone for that a couple turns ago. Truthfully, they risked a lot of Icicle Crashes, but to each their own. But yeah, there's no Terra risk at this point. There's EQ. We Terra'd earlier in the game to mitigate the risk of that. Does a lot, but not choice band damage, thankfully. And so now the question is, how much do I value... Okay, Weirdness disappears, so we'll have Sucker Punch and their Goldango pretty much all the time in the late game. Wild Charge into Torn should always be a knockout or pretty close to it. And I don't want to risk them switching in Goldango, basically. So yeah, I think I go for Wild Charge, Pollen Puff. If they don't wake up on Torn, I take a knockout. If they switch out, fine, they'll get Intimidate, but I guess Protect would be worst case, but even then I still get Pollen Puff up. They do wake up, they go for Bleak Wind, and they miss Iron Hands and Amoonguss. There we go. So I don't know the roll on that. We do have very little... Ooh, based on how easily they lived that, I honestly don't think we had much to worry about. But yeah, the fact we get the Wild Charge, I think we would have lived the Bleak Wind pretty handily, but the Amoonguss was definitely questionable. Joy-Con, don't poop out on me now. Oops. That could have been mad. So, how many turns of Tailwind? One more turn. That's a free Volt Switch into Torn and a Protect, I think, on Amoonguss. No real reason to risk anything. They could Thunderbolt, I guess. But if they lock into Thunderbolt, that's super fine by me. Because then I just bring in the Flutter Mane next turn and do a lot of damage. They do Thunderbolt. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, okay. They might have found a way. They Bleak Wind, so if they'd hit the earlier Bleak Wind, they definitely would have won this turn, and they still might. If we live and we get para'd, that's very bad. Okay, we do get the Volt Switch off, so we're going to get Fake Out off. Or Fake Out later in the game. They're locked into the Thunderbolt. And we're Adamant Chien-pao, so really any chip onto that Goldango wins us the game with Sucker Punch later on. So now I think we go Flutter Mane. We are Terra Grass. We might just be able to Energy Ball the Lando, but I don't think I should really risk them being... Tailwind Peter's out. And they have Earthquake. So are you Choice Scarf or something else is the main question. They're asleep, so it kind of doesn't matter to some extent. Because I should... Did they ever take a sleep turn? No, I spored them and they switched, so... Shadow Ball into Goldango, Rage Powder feels good. Given they revealed Energy Ball, or Thunderbolt. But yeah, things got dicey that turn. I think there was probably a more optimal way to play that turn with Iron Hands, but... Yeah, I think I probably should... I probably have the resources to just always win if I Rage Powder and Wild Charge the Torn or Volt Switch that turn. So a little shaky there. We did get bailed out by a miss. Not bailed, but made the end game a whole lot easier. And now we just... Yeah, we just Shadow Ball, Rage Powder. We have Sucker Punch in the late game. I think we nailed this one. And we see a DC. So yeah, 2 DCs on the day. Definitely, I wouldn't say this is a rage-inducing team. It's definitely just like everything's standard, everything's good. So if you lose and you DC, you're kind of just showing off your own insecurity. So on the day, we were able to go 4-0 in the ranked battle ladder. We were pretty high up on the ladder, played some really good opponents, so pretty proud of that performance. This is, of course, our iteration of the team. I believe this is at least very, very close to the open team sheet of Zeen, Shohei Kimura, the World Champions team. But at the time of recording this, he has not released the PokePaste or the rental code. He might do that in the coming days after the high of the victory has worn down, but for the time being, I have the rental code in the top right of this team, along with the PokePaste, including all the EV spreads, along with Shohei's Twitter account linked in the description below. If you enjoy the battles and appreciate me putting out my copy of the team, please subscribe to the channel. It helps out a ton, and that'll do it for today. Peace, y'all.